Welcome to this Killik Explains finance video. This week, the financial impact of returning to work. Now, a quick map. Here's a scary fact first of all. The average family will, according to some estimates, spend more raising a child than they do buying a house. That's comparing the average cost of childcare to the average price of a property in the UK. Here's a map. All right, so in terms of planning your life and building kids into it from a financial point of view, I know emotionally they're a fantastic joy, but they do need paying for as well. So planning your life, we recommend get your rainy day fund sorted first. Get that 3 to 6 months of net salary set aside for redundancy, for a shock like the roof falling off or something, and or illness. Then have a plan to get your own life vest on first at the other end. Get your long-term savings plan up and running so you've got pension, retirement income, and or long-term care costs covered. And then, sure, kids will hit you with a series of financial milestones all the way through from preschool, that's what I'm going to focus on just now, the return to work issue, all the way through some other issues, university, first car, first home, depending on how generous you're feeling. So let's target that box right there. Now, nursery and preschool, here are the key stages. Key decisions that most couples have to make. Maternity leave, how long will the company pay for a woman to be off? And also, how long do you want to go beyond that? Now remember, the rules have changed recently. So for example, if a mother decides to only take 6 months, let's say, a father has to be allowed legally by their company to take unpaid leave to make up the balance. So for example, I took 2 days a week off after the first 6 months, after the birth of our first child, to look after our first child while my wife returned to work. So legally that is an entitlement now. Bear that in mind. But there are lots of other implications to think about when both of you go back to work, if both of you go back to work, or if indeed you are a single parent. So there's, do I use nursery, nanny, childminder? Then there's the preschool phase, and then there's school. So looking at that phase of life and totting it all up, here are some scary numbers. Now and then we'll think about what we can do about them. So options, nursery full-time, costs per week, according to government statistics, on a UK basis, £220, and in London, 310. Where I live, it's much higher than that. So these are quite scary numbers. This is per week, all right, and could even be per child per week. Registered childminder, that's where you get one person looking after a group of kids. That's a little bit cheaper, but still averages around £200 per week, or in London, £290 per week. That's cheaper because you've got potentially one person looking after a group of kids. Then you've got the live-in nanny. Okay, so here we go up the scale a little bit. Live-in nannies will want between £350 and £450 per week, plus tax, NI and board. And you've got to decide whether you're happy to have someone living in your house or not. So other implications there too. Live-out nannies, more expensive because they've got to cover their own accommodation costs, £450 to £600 per week, plus tax, NI. And there you might think, well, that's great, I don't have someone living in my house, but equally if there's an emergency, they've got to be able to get to you fairly easily. So all sorts of other things to think about, but the financial cost is pretty significant. Now, the UK are pretty miserly when it comes to helping parents who are both trying to return to work, but let's look at what's available. Childcare tax credits, very brief summary. These are complex. Anything designed by the government usually is. So the criteria are complicated, worth checking if you're a single parent working 16 hours plus a week, or part of a couple both working 16 hours plus a week, and your household income is below £46,000. If you're looking to find this, the government have given it a snappy title, not of that, the childcare element of working tax credit, and you must be in work to qualify. So worth checking if you think you might hit those criteria. What else? Childcare vouchers. Neat idea, fairly ungenerous in terms of the amount available. Neat idea because it works around this salary sacrifice principle, something you can do for pensions as well. So the way that works is if you give up, say, £1,000 in salary, and that equates for you personally to £700 in your pocket, making up that number there, it still buys £1,000 of vouchers. So you're using after-tax money to buy a pre-tax amount of benefit, if you like. But you might think, well, that's brilliant, I'll do as much of that as I can. The limit, the cap, won't see you through all of those childcare costs, nowhere near in a lot of cases. So definitely worth claiming, definitely worth doing. Most employers offer the scheme, but it won't be enough. Then you've got preschool assistance. This only kicks in when children are 3 or 4. This is the government basically saying in a nutshell, we will cover up to 15 hours a week, or 11 hours a week if you spread it over the entire year. It's about 540 hours annually. And basically the way that works is it can be used at registered nurseries, preschools and or childminders. So there's plenty of ways you can use this. The amount or the number of hours is increasing to 30 hours per week from September 2017 if you earn less than £100,000 per year and you work at least 16 hours per week. All right, so there's a bit of help, but not the entire week covered by any stretch. Now, we've done some calculations on financially, is it worth both people returning to work, both partners in a couple? Now, there are other reasons why people like to return to work, but here's the bottom line. You need to be looking at a salary averaging around £40,000 to break even after childcare for 2 kids and travel and a contribution to your pension. Now, if you're earning £60,000 gross, this is the second partner. Now, it could be that the father stays at home initially or the mother stays at home, but if you both return to work, the second partner or spouse needs to be looking at £60,000 per year to keep £36 a day once you've covered other costs. So you can see return to work is expensive. And bearing in mind the average UK salary is only £30,000, there's the scale of the challenge. So, we love the little blighters, but they're not cheap. Any questions? editor@killik.com. And to see videos that expand on this topic, killikexplains.com.